All right. Actually, we are going to go to the next story. This story is from Vice. And I excerpted part of this from
Jesus Christ
on purpose. This is from Vice. A Christian camp director abused dozens of kids. Now a victim says the camp lied to coerce him into a non-disclosure agreement. So this is it's a long article, and it is a fucking really, really, really sad and upsetting article. And it is not dissimilar from what you think, just based off the title. But I did grab a piece of this and threw it in the notes, and I want to read this piece of it because I think it's important to talk about the way that the camp counselor used his religion, and I'm going to use the term right this time, to groom someone. Unlike the fucking Republicans who want to throw around that word grooming, to mean somebody has a sexuality that makes my fucking tingly bits feel weird, which is nothing to do with anything. This is what grooming is. This is what grooming is at a Christian camp. Newman told him they could avoid the sin of lusting after women by masturbating with each other. Quote, he would use scripture to his advantage and make it like we were doing something that was keeping us from sinning. And I guess at the time, it made sense to me because of the indoctrination, end quote.
Yeah, man.
That's fucking grooming.
You're right.
The other shit, like drag story hour, that's not grooming. That's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Christian camp director spending years, if you read the story, he spent
years.
More than 1 year
with dozens of people, right?
Yep.
Like it wasn't just like one kid. It was dozens of people he was violating.
Yep. And he spent years on each kid. So like kid would come to camp, like the story starts off with would come to camp, and this Christian camp director was really well known and really well loved and really well renowned. It was like a big deal to have private time with this Christian camp director because he was like so important to the camp. And the first time he just hung out and established a relationship. And then he waited for the kid to come back the next summer and then once he'd established that relationship and built that trust, then the next summer he came back is when the abuse started.
Yeah.
That is fucking grooming. That's what that is.
It is, man. That's planting seeds and sowing them later. I mean, really, genuinely, that's a level of nefariousness that's just disgusting. And it's not just one. He's got a whole field full of kids. I mean, he's literally just harvesting children whenever he wants. It's grotesque. And the idea that this church would go out of their way to be like, you know what? We're going to make you, in order for everything to calm down, we should probably do this NDA thing. If you have an NDA after somebody in your organization diddles somebody else, let me tell you something, man. You're way more worried about your fucking reputation than you ever were about any single victim ever, period. You're a disgusting organization. You should be disbanded, period. The end, period.
That's it. If I had an organization and found out that it was rotten from the inside, I would fucking call it out and I would disband my organization. I would. Yeah. I don't care if it was my life's work. I literally do not care if it was my whole life's work. If that organization was an immoral abuse network, I'd be like, we shouldn't be here. Yeah. Like I tried. I didn't have bad intentions. I get it. But like, we just can't, like, we gotta roll this fucking thing up and call it a night and go get a job doing something else. But like, you're exactly right. What they do is they're always serving their own interests. Yeah. They're always serving their interests first. And this is supposed to be, remember, the bedrock of morality. That's what religion paints itself always in, and there are no exceptions to that. All religions paint themselves as the foundational tenets that you need in your life in order for you to have a good and purpose-driven and moral life. And what they really mean is, what I care about most is me.
Yeah.
That's what they really mean. Yeah. There's nothing altruistic here.
Whenever it's in your power to stop sexual assault or to stop associating, I mean, because there's the thing, like maybe you're in that organization. You're like, this is horrible. We need to stop this. We need to do something. And they don't listen to you. Then you just leave. You say, okay, cool. I don't ever have to talk to you again.
Go get a different job.
I won't talk to you again. The end. I'll quit. Yeah. I'm done.
Yep.
Because you know what? What they did was they sat this person down and they said, you know what? We're all going to sit here and we're all going to talk about how you might want to sign this NDA so that we could kind of keep this under the rug, you know? It's bullshit. Yep. It's bullshit. You're absolutely right. You cannot pretend you're a moral organization anymore.
Nope. And they didn't fire this guy. Like, they
man.
Like,
no, they were like going to put him in like counseling and shit. They're like, they found out and they knew. And they were like, no, let's put him in counseling. With kids
counseling.
again. Yeah.
He was already a counselor.
Yeah.
And on that same, and I grouped these two stories together on purpose. On that same topic, this is from WBOC.com. I think that's a NBC affiliate out of Delmarva. I don't know where the fuck that's at. Sussex County pastor indicted on child porn charges. Department of Justice searching for more victims. So again, I want to read directly from this article. The Department of Justice says 62-year-old Leonard Eli was indicted on November the 28th on one count of sexual solicitation of a minor, 2 counts of possession of child pornography, and 1 count of theft by false pretenses following an investigation into charges that he solicited nude photographs from a minor over the course of a year. Eli, whose victim was a former member of his church, Storm Shelter Ministries, is further alleged to have paid for the photographs using stolen funds from his church's account. Jesus.
Wow.
Again, same thing. He used his position in the church.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a lot going on there.
It's like a hat trick.
Really is. There's like so many different violations of things, but specifically the violation of the children again. That's the other problem, right?
And the specific and intentional use of his position as a moral authority to gain access to and to groom and to build trust.
You're right. You're right.
That's what grooming is. Like if you want to get these, that's it.
Yeah,
this is it. All over the news. It's like, oh, maybe a library book with ideas I don't like is grooming. No, that's not grooming.
Yeah.
That's not grooming. Like reading, like a book is not grooming. Grooming is your pastor and your camp counselor at fucking Jesus Church or whatever, or Jesus Camp or whatever, that spends years of time and abuses their authority and their position to gain access to and build trust in order to sexually violate children. That's grooming.
Yeah.
We should look into that.
Yeah.
We absolutely should. I actually think we should build entirely new laws around using an abuse of authority as a stricter standard, right? I think when you are invested with authority in certain roles, like pastor, like teacher, when you have certain trusted cop, absolutely. When society invests in you certain positions of trust and authority, and you use that position of trust and authority to violate the public that you have been tasked with protecting in some way, I think that absolutely that should be a different class and penalty of crime, because it is different. It's not the same. It's objectively just different. It has a different, more morally objectionable element to it.
And, you know, one of the things that's been happening, you know, for decades is the Republicans will project what they are doing on somebody else to try to make them feel like they're the bad people. They're the ones who are doing the wrong thing. And they just happen to pick trans people or people in drag, you know, a different, you know, I know those two things are different. I'm just saying that they choose both of them. And so they go out of their way to choose different people in the LGBT spectrum so that they can then attack them for things that they're doing. It's like, you know, how many people are, you know, for the drag story hour, how many people are not clothed? Because here's the thing, in both the stories we just talked about, some people didn't have clothes on in those situations. How many people in those other situations? You know what I mean? Like you're a fucking liar, you're a projector, and that's what you do. And you're absolutely right. There's an entire grooming ring, an entire grooming pedophile ring that has been around for centuries. It's the Catholic Church. It's been around for centuries, man. And they haven't stopped. It's fucking full steam ahead. Trains on the tracks, baby. That's not slowing down for anything. Fuck, they go out of their way to like fuck legislation over and take away fucking like the chance for people that have the statute of limitations. Whenever they try to take that down, they're like, no, we need to have the statute of limitations in check so we can make sure that we protect these churches. It's bullshit. And they've been doing this for years. Not just one church. Most churches have this. So, you know, fuck them all. I'm absolutely with you. They should have some sort of specific rules and harder regulations against people in power that manipulate children and that wind up raping and diddling them, to get rid of them, get rid of those people and make sure they can never do it again. You know, that's the problem too here, is that in a lot of these stories, you'll just hear, oh yeah, and then they just got moved to a different place or they got a different title. Now they're food and beverage director, but they're still raping kids.
Yeah, man. There should be not just a childhood's like a sex predator registry, but there should be a registry that you have abused a position of public trust.
Yeah, man.
And you should be disallowed forever to be put in another position of public trust. Like, I'm sorry, like you were a teacher that did this, or a politician that did this shit, or you were a cop that did this shit, or a pastor. Sorry, guess what? Here's a whole category of jobs now you will never be able to qualify for again. When you abuse the public trust, you should never again be imbued with the public trust. But these guys, look at Jim Baker. Jim Baker's a fucking rapist. Like, Jim Baker is a felon and he's a rapist, and he stole money from his own parishioners. He just fucking straight up stole money from his own parishioners, and he's back in ministry. He should be denied the ability to start a ministry.
Right.
Sorry, man. No ministry for you. You can't even start your own fucking church. If you do, it's not going to be tax exempt. It will not be a recognized church.
Yeah. And then there's no money in it for you. So why would you do it?
You won't grift.
Yeah.
You won't grift if we don't make it profitable to subsidize your grift.